Hello everyone, welcome back to Storytime. We are currently reading The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox, and Terry is a local author who has very kindly said that we can read his stories for Storytime. So sit down, get comfortable while we read part 5 of story number 5 in this book called The Willigrews and the Mysterious Eggs, and it is co-written by Jack Wheatley. I keep forgetting his name. I'm ever so sorry, Jack, but this story is good. It's good. So all of the Willigrews and Georgie and Georgette have been safely found by Grendax. So let's hope that their safety continues. Let's find out what happens next. No sooner had he spoken than an opening appeared in the glass dome. They all went through and it closed behind them. As soon as they entered the hut, Georgie and Georgette started bouncing up and down and squeaking loudly. "Mum! Dad! We missed you so much! It's wonderful to be back!" Because although their parents were invisible, they could recognise their voices. "Oh, my little darlings," said their mum. "We have been so worried about you. We thought we would never see you again." This was followed by much visible bouncing and even more invisible bouncing. When the bouncing, boinging, squeaking and general silliness quietened down, Vectorn said she would introduce the Willigrews to their new friends. She went around, each in turn, and told the Mardronians their names. Grendax replied by pointing at spaces and introducing the members of his tribe. "This space is Mardi, and this space is Groenbagger." These were followed by Lobjount, Wakefine, Lowgrain, and finally Baydrex. She explained that these were the Mardronians who carried the spaceship back to the dome, and said the rest of the tribe were hidden in tunnels under the long grass. "We are very grateful, I'm sure," said Dora. The rest agreed and gave them a round of applause, although as they were standing in a square, perhaps this should have been a square of applause. Anyway, they all clapped in a thank you very much sort of way. After this, everyone sat down and had some food. The Mardronians loved the Jangleberry Dodgy Jammers, by the way, and talked about how the Willigrews could help the Mardronians solve the problem of the evil Yippets. Many dangers lay ahead for the Willigrews, but as always, they were up for the challenge. Grendax explained to the Willigrews that for many years they had lived in peace with the Yippets. "We never bothered them, and they never bothered us," he said. He went on to say, I did a voice, didn't I? I did a voice. "One morning, as some of my tribe and I were gathering seeds from the tall grass fields, we were confronted by the Yippets. This was fairly normal, and we waved hello. However, to our surprise, they had tortoises on their backs. We were amused at first, thinking it was just a game of some sort. We stopped laughing, however, when the tortoises fired laser beams at us. Then one by one we started to disappear." Grendax continued. "I managed to avoid the rays for some time by dodging in and out of the grass, but eventually they hit me and we were all invisible. We managed to run away back to our home, and thankfully the Yippets didn't follow us, just made their scary ooh-la sound as we fled." Grendax explained further that the only Mardronians that were visible were Georgie and Georgette. "So we decided to send them away in the space eggs in the hope that they would land somewhere that was safe from the Yippets," he continued. "You see, we didn't know if the invisibility was permanent. Until you disappear, you don't realise how difficult, almost impossible it is to live without seeing each other. We have to do everything by sound and touch." Vectorn then asked, "Have you got any idea what made the Yippets change so suddenly?" Wakefine answered, "We did think one thing was a bit strange. You see, at night they used to sleep where they stopped, out on the fields. One night, however, they all gathered in one place. The next morning we awoke to find that a huge metal structure had been erected in the field opposite our home. We sneaked over to take a look, and we were puzzled to see all the Yippets crouching down facing the structure. A large door opened, and out came the tortoises and climbed on the Yippets' backs. Then they all headed off in the same direction." Longstint, who had been sitting quietly listening to all this, joined in by saying, "I have no idea of what is going on here. I think that whatever has changed the Yippets is controlling them from the new structure. I wouldn't mind taking a sneaky peek inside." What followed could only be called a chorus of disapproval. That would be far too dangerous, warned Vectorn, and the rest agreed. But it's the only way we'll be able to find out what's going on. We can't just sit and wait for something to happen. I will go now while it's dark. I promise I won't take any unnecessary risks, Longstint continued. You can't go on your own, said Dora Dingbat. I will come with you to hold your hand, just in case you get a bit frightened. All right, said Vectorn reluctantly, but take some Jangleberry Dodgy Jammer biscuits with you. We don't want you starving. You had better take one of us with you, advised Grendax, to show you the way. Who wants to go? It may be dangerous. They must have all volunteered because Grendax said, You can't all go. I think Groonbagger should go. He is our best tracker. The decision made, the brave little trio set off into the night through the long grass towards the structure. They trundled along, following Groonbagger's movements until they reached the edge of a clearing. There, before them, stood a gigantic 5-sided building, which looked like it was constructed of some sort of thick paper and was decorated with floral wallpaper. Longstint remarked, I like this wallpaper design. It's rather chic. I would love it on my walls at home. Dora reminded him why they were there and told him to concentrate on the job at hand. OK, Longstint replied. I'm focused now. We need to find the entrance. Follow me. They edged stealthily around the building until they came upon a small opening between the structure and the ground. Longstint squeezed under it and the others followed. On the inside it was quite dark, with only a probing light beam coming from the top of a tower in the centre. The light moved around the edge of the building and approached our little heroes. Duck! Groonbagger called out urgently. Eh? What would a duck be doing in here? Said Dora, feeling a bit confused. However, she realised just in time what he meant and joined Longstint on the ground as the beam passed above their heads. Then they saw that all the Yippets were inside the building, not moving but barring the way to the tower, possibly asleep. We will have to make our way over to the tower, explained Longstint. I need to take a look inside. We will have to go between the Yippets' legs, so be very careful. OK, whispered Dora. Ready. Steady, go! The trio dashed across the ground, dodging and weaving as quietly as they could between the metal legs before the beam traced them. However, suddenly there was a bump and Groonbagger gave out a loud groan. The others stopped and asked if he was all right, but he didn't answer. Longstint tried to locate the little invisible Mardronian by scrabbling around on the ground. Eventually he found Groonbagger. Are you okay, old chap? Longstint asked. Getting no reply, he said, I think he's unconscious, Dora. We will have to leave him here and collect him on our way out. Before they left the unfortunate Mardronian, Dora had the clever idea of sticking her small twig in the shape of a mouse with 2 legs missing in the ground next to Groonbagger so they would know where he was when they came back. I knew it would come in handy, she thought to herself, rather smugly. As Longstint passed the Yippets, he noted with interest that they had cables running from them connected to the tower. When they got to the tower, the only entrance they could see was about 1/2 metre above the ground, far too high for a Willigrew to reach. They were stumped. I'm stumped, said Dora. Me too, said Longstint. See, I told you they were. They looked about for something to use, but all they could see was a small plank of wood, which was flat and a bit bendy. They both stared at the object for a few minutes, then Longstint had an idea. What if we lean it up against the wall and use it as a trampoline? We may be able to spring up to the entrance and dive in. Dora thought this was a bit dangerous, but she said she was up for it. Once they had positioned the plank at what they considered would be the correct angle, Longstint took a run up and dashed towards it. He jumped with both feet and landed in the middle. Boing! It went, and he flew upwards at great speed and disappeared into the opening. A loud squeaky bump followed and an ouch! Dora followed with another squeaky bump, but missed the opening and squashed her nose against the wall. However, her second attempt was successful and the Willigrews were inside the tower. Dora's nose was bleeding, but this didn't stop her following Longstint to the small building at the centre of the tower. This time there was a door that wasn't locked. Longstint opened it with a creak. He always carried a creak with him, in case he needed to open a door. Dora's eyes widened at what she saw. On one side of the room was a large computer-like thingy. "Look, Longstint," she said. "It's a computer-like thingy. What can it be used for?" Longstint edged closer to take a look, but was stopped in his tracks when, above him, sitting on top of the computer-like thingy, was what only could be described as a purple blob with 2 eyes, a button nose, and a wide, grinning mouth. It spoke. "Who dares enter the inner sanctum of the mighty Norg, ruler of all known worlds, the whole universe, and parts of Watford? Keep your hands off my computer-like thingy, or you will be in big trouble, and no mistake." The Willigrews knew they had a problem, so Dora, as a last resort, offered Norg a jangleberry dodgy jammer. "I don't eat," roared Norg. "I am a fungus." "Well, I never," said Longstint. "I've never met a fungus before. Well, not to speak to, anyway." "I will give you 1 warning and 1 warning only. Leave at once, or I will fungulate you with my fungulator. And you won't like that very much, I can tell you," Norg roared again. "Oh, I thought that everyone was going to be nice and safe. I didn't think that there was going to be purple blob type things and a big building with yippets all powering up in there. Okay, I think we've only got 1 more part to read of this story, so come back tomorrow. We will find out what's going on and hopefully everything will be fine. So join me at 2 o'clock tomorrow for more from The Willigrews 2 by Terry Tarbox. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.